Welcome everybody to the Exafort Webinar series. My name is Janani Mahalingam and I'm your host for this session. Today's topic is no-bull marketing, a practitioner's approach. We are going to talk about a framework that drives marketing activities in fast-growing companies, as well as look at how these practices are used at Infoblox, a global leader in automated IT network control solutions. If you cannot see my screen, please go ahead and put a message in the chat window. If everything goes smoothly today, a copy of today's webinar will also be made available on our website and other channels. We have with us today Steve Garrison, VP of Marketing at Infoblox, along with Shri Chickerur, VP of Professional Services at Exafort. If you have any questions during the webinar, go ahead and type it out in the chat window, and we'll try to get to it during the question and answer section. Without further ado, let's get started. Now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Shri.
Thank you, Janani. Welcome, folks. Today we're going to talk about marketing practices. This is activities that happen on the ground in fast-growing companies, and we have Steve Garrison on, a seasoned marketing executive, works for Infoblox, leader in its space. And we're going to have a quick conversation about what are some of the things they do, what kind of framework they follow, and so on. So here's the agenda for today. So we'll take a quick look at the framework and take a look at the Infoblox story, and we'll spend a little bit of time on questions and answers. All right. So here's the we decided to call it a no-bull marketing process and a practitioner's approach, because we hear a lot of noise when we talk about marketing and the marketing philosophies and the strategies and things like that. So we wanted to go beyond the theory and really focus on what actually happens on the field in various organizations, in companies, in enterprises, between the various departments, marketing, sales, operations, finance, and whatnot, and kind of get a quick sense on what are some of the winning methods that are being employed. So quick introduction about Exafort. We founded in 2009. This is fourth year now. We're complete. We're headquartered in Santa Clara. We're fast growing. We have a couple of centers in overseas and design centers. We have engineering talent there. And our focus is to drive innovation using the new generation technology building blocks of cloud, mobile, social, and big data technologies. Quick look at Infoblox, founded in '99, again headquartered in Santa Clara, so virtually our neighbors. Has about 5,400 customers globally, and it's a global leader in automated IT network control solutions. So they enable IT to automate the complex tasks and drive efficiencies, operational efficiencies in the process. So getting into the framework, what we see, and this is a lot of it is just a methodical common sense, but this is how most organizations start with a set of goals that, as you see here, is the driving factor in the beginning. With the goals come a sequence of strategies, and this is usually the presence, the company, its competency, the marketplace, its customers, etc. drive these kinds of conversations. Once the strategies are identified, then a set of metrics, a set of key performance indicators are identified that actually tell how to measure the success or non-success of these strategies. And these KPIs, the metrics, and the strategies then start reinforcing each other. And this is the feedback mechanism most enterprises have in place. And over a time frame, and it could be a quarterly, yearly, monthly, whatever makes sense for the enterprise, there's a time frame that is also associated based on the strategy execution, when certain things go into play, and so on. So this is a broad marketing strategy, a framework that the beginning of the framework that most enterprises go through. Now, once it's identified, the strategies are identified and all, here's how it starts manifesting. The conversations, the thoughts, and the plan and goal on the market. This is what market would an enterprise serve, what are the competencies of the business, what customers they want to target, and then what is the kind of message that the company wants to go after. We'll see more details of some of these things. What are the key metrics, what are the tactics, what are the methods and processes, and what are the platform that enables all these various practices. So from market, this is a typical conversations. What are the customer voice, analysis, customer analysis, any segmentation. Competition drives a lot of conversations in market. Competitive analysis, what is the business growth, plan, business goals, industry, how does a macroeconomics play into the mix, and all these things. So these are all the conversations, these are all the thoughts that go into a market bucket of activities within the framework. And then there is the messaging. Once a market is identified, what is the message that an enterprise wants to carry? It's a product portfolio, overall enterprise vision, overall company presence, any organizational one, any product marketing message, everything addressing, targeting those customers, that market space that has been identified in step one. Now, once the message is out there, then metrics become important because you can't manage what you can't measure. So the relevant metrics, measurable metrics, which are actionable and all, this is, it's not easy. It's easier said than done, trying to come up with the right metrics, which actually are a barometer of enterprises' presence in the market as well as customers' acceptance. Various sources for these metrics could be media, social media, traditional media, analysts, internet, and whatnot. Again, from a process perspective, a lot of enterprises then get into this mode of method, how to execute. They run campaigns, events, trade shows, and website and inquiries, manage opportunities, and start building processes that are repeatable and scalable. Or the platforms come into play at this point. There are marketing automation platforms like Eloqua, Marketo, Pardot, and a bunch of others. There are CRM solutions that integrate the marketing processes with the rest of customer relationship processes like Salesforce.com, NetSuite, Sugar CRM. Various other operational data sources might come into the mix, master data, master product data, pricing information, master customer information, and so on. So there's various platform tools and solutions that are available out there that help automate and optimize these processes. All right, so there was a quick overview on what are the typical buckets that enterprises would normally follow and get to a winning execution and some great results. So here's at this point we want to bring Steve Garrison on, and Steve is going to share with us how this framework and some of these components have been used very successfully at Infoblox and to drive the great results and the excellent performance of the company compared to its peers and its market and in its marketplace. All right, so Steve, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Shri, and I can't emphasize enough that your setup was really spot on, from not only the way I feel as a marketeer, but a lot of the challenges that we have in the market as marketeers to show results. The CFO and the sales team are constantly being measured on their financial performance to the street if you're public, to investors if you're private. The sales team is measured every quarter based on bookings and revenue, and I've passionately believe that marketing should be measured the same way. And 5 to 10 years ago, we didn't have the tools that we have today. And this is what's really wonderful about marketing. Today, with partners like Exafort and some of the tools that we can work with, we can now be much more accountable and really turn the dials, turn those knobs to get better results. And I really think about the lead bullet here, tuning for the customer voice. This is really important. because if you've got thousands of visitors that you can now interact with digitally through the web or through digital media, you really can find out what people are looking for, either learning or buying. So we'll emphasize that throughout my second part of this presentation. Getting grounded is key because you really need to know what you're measuring, and Shri pointed that out. You can't manage what you can't measure, so we'll talk to that. Starting point's key, and then we'll talk about how we best practices and some of the data from Infoblox. So let's go to the next slide and dive in. So our framework is very similar to Shri's. I think most marketeers think like this, that you have parallel programs or campaigns. I map the programs to two different types. I talk about thought leadership on the top, because the most important way to get known in the industry is be in touch with media and analysts. The analysts have to know how you're positioned and where you fit. What peg do you fit in, what square hole or round hole? And the media needs to understand how you fit into the stories that they write about. They're not going to do your marketing for you, but they're happy to include you in a trend piece if your messaging is tied to the trends that they're writing about. So for Infoblox, virtualization, cloud, IPv6, and mobility are the trends that really attach us to the drivers in the industry. As Shri pointed out, we do automation for IT services, in particular DNS, DHCP, and IPAM, and network change and control. Pretty deep stuff that network engineers care a lot about. The way we're connecting to the higher level market is showing CIOs and VP decision makers that the initiatives that we have on this part of the slide map to those services. In fact, everything is IP driven today. Everything has a domain name assignment. Everything has an IP address. In fact, we like to say that if you don't have that working, you'll never get your Facebook apps or your iPhone apps to work. The second part of how I think as a marketeer is the demand generation piece, the second part of the slide, where we're looking at both traditional physical events and virtual online events. I have moved more and more budget quarterly since I've been at Infoblox to the digital realm, simply because it's easier to measure, and I can do more daily real-time tuning for that person learning or buying, so again, mapping to the customer voice. The most important part is the bottom. Again, back to measurement. KPIs are so important for marketing, and I think all marketeers on the webcast know the pain that if you can't show an ROI or an opportunity that was generated from an event, no one believes you're doing your job well. So getting an agreement with the finance decision makers in your organization and the sales decision makers in your organization, how marketing will be measured, is as important as the tools that you use. So let's go to the next slide and talk about one of the key things that everybody should just think about at a high level, which is the cost to acquire these new opportunities, these new inquiries. So on the left, we show you some basic data. This is very in line with what Infoblox sees. Cost per lead is the $10 to $30 range. On average, I'm paying about $20 per inquiry. And when you look at the overall sales process to close, you can see those numbers escalate. So one of the things that I think a lot of marketeers need to think about is the end-to-end lead to revenue life cycle. When we start to look at digital events end-to-end, we see that they're more in line with $600 per opportunity, and physical events are closer to $2,000. So we are finding a more cost-friendly advantage to doing marketing online, and as I mentioned before, it's more real-time, so we get much more feedback more rapidly. Now on the right side of the slide, I'm showing you some, just to give you a sense of how I think as a marketeer and where our money is spent, without giving you too much insight, obviously, how big my budget is and all those types of questions. But you can see my biases here on the slide. Because we're a software company and we do let customers download free trial software with a 60-day license, we find that that is a huge demand generation vehicle. People are looking to try software before they buy it. It's a wonderful lead gen opportunity. And also the classic white paper content is also a big driver for leads for me. Campaigns to us means both physical and web-based and social media campaigns. And what that means to us is a multi-pronged process where we may have 2 to 5 touches to a prospect or customer database via snail mail or email, and then following up with inside sales phone calls and call to actions. Some of our campaigns last a year. Some of our campaigns only last 2 months. Corporate events is this last and least here, but it is important. We find that some of our strong strategic partners like VMware, Cisco, and CA are actually fantastic partners, number one, and help us sell our product, but number two, they have global events that we coattail on and usually buy a partner pod or sit within their demo infrastructure. So again, it's branding with a larger player, and it is a place we do more branding than demand generation in my view, but association is equally important. Now let's dive in to the next slide and talk a bit about how you think about what assets to actually position throughout a campaign or a program. And this again is where B2B and B2C marketing, I think, has really been revolutionized over the last 5 years with these types of platforms that we're going to talk about at the end of the webcast. If you can constantly measure how people interact with a digital medium, and you can test and measure what they're doing, you can really start to follow somebody from the left where they're thinking and educating themselves with a great white paper. Now they've moved down the sales cycle a little bit, and they're a little bit more sure that you're on the short list, so maybe they want to see a demonstration. And then after they see that demonstration, they've now budgeted, they understand what your product or solution can do, and now they're looking for ROI tools to tell their boss why this product is going to save them money, position the company more strategically, or what have you. So thinking in terms of not just getting that hot prospect to say, I want to talk to inside sales today, which by the way, we all know is not real. We do think more and more about the life cycle of someone educating themselves, which may take 12 to 18 months. And again, all of these online tools and marketing automation tools give us the ability to know that someone is actually thinking about something versus buying. Now, how do we do that at Infoblox? Let's look at the next slide, and I'll show you some secrets. In here, I'm showing you some search engine data. At a high level, before we worry about these technical terms, think about paint. If I type into Google, types of paint, I'm trying to learn. I don't know what kind of paint I want. I want to read and understand the types of paint available. If I type in latex paint, well, I'm probably going to end up at a Home Depot or a Lowe's. I'm going to go into the paint section and buy the right color of latex paint. I'm clearly buying. We see the same thing with technical terms. And when you get into search engine optimization and search engine marketing, one of the key things to think about is what we call the long tail search. Typing in just BYOD, you can see that 12,100 people do that a month globally through Google. Now, if you actually added in BYOD for IPv6 with automation, you may actually see a much lower population of searchers, but that person's clearly not just learning. They're trying to understand how to buy BYOD infrastructure that's IPv6 ready and it's automatable. And so we do that too. And you can see that one of the things that we're very fortunate about at Infoblox is that our base infrastructure, our key terms, DHCP, IP addressing, and domain name services, millions of people are searching on these terms a month. And when we start to dig into the long tail searches, we get very, very, very qualified leads. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to show you what people are learning on the left is that it's kind of fascinating. We all talk virtualization and cloud every day here in Silicon Valley in particular, but notice how low those searches are compared to some of the more niche terms, DHCP and DNS. We are actually watching these terms change because we are trying to influence the industry to associate what's going on the left side of the slide with what we do on the right side of the slide to enable IT to automate some of these key functions and deliver better uptime and better customer experience. Shri, next slide. Now, one of the things that we're fortunate to have at Infoblox is we have a lot of products. That's great, but it creates a challenge. Two reasons. One, sales has a forecast based on products, specific products, and product line management and product marketing want their products to be pushed more than everybody else's. So we had to figure out a way to do a balanced portfolio of campaigns, and we have what I call the pillar model. We have 6 pillars per quarter that we use to prospect, and we have 2 pillars per quarter we use to drive into our customer install base. The themes that are throughout, because we're talking about automation and educating the community on why automation will help IT be more efficient, automation is in every campaign as a theme. IPv6 is in every campaign as a theme because we're trying to show the market that when you're ready to move to IPv6, we're ready to. In fact, the infrastructure you bought is in fact IPv6 ready. Now, I don't need to go into the different product offerings on the slide. I want to just give you some philosophy. We are seeing that some of our audience is learning. So, as I mentioned before, virtualization is a key area where we're doing more tutorials in how to think about virtualization pain. Not necessarily expecting the buyer to jump off the webcast and call inside sales right away. Microsoft, contrary to that message, is actually a very active buying community, and so we do more product demos for Microsoft prospects because we know that their pain point is imminent, they have budget, and they're keen to upgrade their Microsoft infrastructure with new tools. Let's go to the next slide, Shri. Now here's another challenge, and this is a constant, again, debate, and it should be a facilitated conversation and a team conversation with inside sales, sales management, and the marketing team. Who is the target? Traditionally, Infoblox's target was network engineers and network operational people. This is our base. This is what most of our customer contacts are. But because virtualization, cloud, and security are new pushes for us, and the awareness and association to what we do is becoming more and more compelling, we're actually using this cross-pollination to get new doors in existing accounts. That's what we call net new in Infoblox, as well as net new organizations that we don't already have the logo for. This is our philosophy. The reason I bring it up to share with the audience today is you really do need to think about who your prospect is. You might have a term and a thinking you want to sell into a Microsoft install base, but who is the door opener? It might be a technical decision maker like a network engineer. It might be a CIO. This is a big, big discussion that we can't answer all those questions today. I just want to point out that each campaign you want to add that to the list of questions. Who am I going to open the door with? What kind of information is interesting to them? Are they learning or are they buying? Next slide, Shri. Now here's some data that I stripped away all my metrics just to make myself look good. You can see that something's going on this chart where we're definitely cranking up the knobs here and getting better results. And in my view, I think of three main knobs. Number one, traffic. It could be traffic to your web that you're buying through search engine marketing. It could be traffic that you're getting through better search engine optimization and just more native ranks high on the list so people are clicking. It could be a demand generation program or webcast where you're showing better and better attendance over time. All those to me are traffic. It could be just booth traffic. Hey, we did a better show at VMworld, so we doubled the amount of scans we got at the booth. The next thing that's important to the sales team and to my measurement philosophy is how many of those converted to an inquiry. We also look at rejected leads from inside sales and make sure we understand why they rejected them, so we do some lead scoring. That's another thing that we could have an entire webcast on, just how do you do lead scoring and think through that. But that conversion for us on the high side, eyeballs to a form fill out, if you will, is about 10% for optimized search engine marketing. We're pretty proud of that number. 1 in 10 bot clicks coming to our website to fill out a form for either that freeware I mentioned or a white paper. We get 1 in 10 to secure and fill out that form. That's really good. I'm going to emphasize that. We think that's really good, and it takes a lot of time and hard work to get there through that test and measurement philosophy and thinking again about the customer voice. Who are you targeting? What makes them excited? Where are they in the sales or the buying process? The second conversion is what inside sales and sales management gets very excited about. This is that inquiry now converting to a physical opportunity, which in the CRM means that a dollar amount has been associated with it. Inside sales has qualified it, and inside sales has now forecasted an event, a closure event on that inquiry. That conversion for us is in the 3 to 5% range, depending on the vehicle, in a 6-month window. The reason I give you that data is that our sales cycle can be long, it can be short. If we actually go out 18 months and look at, say, a trade show 18 months to 24 months later, our conversions actually get up to 10%. So some of these knobs are daily, worth checking with your dashboards daily. Sometimes you need to look at data 3, 6, 9, 12 months later, and even 2 years later. And we're still struggling with this in both at Infoblox and my career. How quickly should you judge the effectiveness of a program? Everybody wants results immediately. Again, if you have a well set up marketing automation platform and a great CRM tool, you now have that end-to-end visibility, and you can show people that these are moving targets. It's good to set expectations. That's the main point. Next slide, Shri. Now here, social networking is the buzz, and everybody feels if they don't have a Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter icon on their webpage, they're not cool. Well, I felt that way. I still feel that way. We still struggle with this, though, as marketeers and at Infoblox. How much social networking should we do? Is it worth a head count? Should it be time shared amongst multiple people in the company? And we also are fortunate at Infoblox because we sell software, we have a community. So we've integrated a lot of our social networking, blogging, and community activities to develop a voice for the technical person or practitioner. We're also developing a voice with social networking for the media and the analysts. And we've had some really interesting success stories. Number one, on a campaign today, we're seeing single-digit registrations through social networking parts of that campaign. Still not 10%, but getting close. We think that's pretty cool, and that's the kind of integrated result that I expect from an integrated marketing campaign. I should be seeing those registration events come from multiple vehicles, not just an email to a prospect. The second thing that's important is that we're convinced now that if you're not doing social networking, you're missing out. Granted, you may not be able to judge ROI yet on all these vehicles, but we routinely now get Twitters on the following: service and support requests, feature updates and roadmap updates from customers and prospects. We also get media and analysts pinging us through Twitter. So you need to listen. That's really important. LinkedIn is a huge revenue generator for us. We're using InMail and inside sales and finding that very effective. We have multiple LinkedIn groups that are leading to conversations and, again, awareness as well as actions by prospects and customers. And last but not least, our HR team is using Facebook to develop a sense of what the corporate culture is like and why you should join the Infoblox team. So each one of those channels has a slightly different message, and I think that's the other important aspect of social networking. One size does not fit all. All channels are not alike. People really do use these tools differently. Next slide, Shri. Now, these are the oldest adages I've found in my life, which is we feel in marketing on the left that we're trying to find that really super qualified needle in the haystack, and that's our job through better marketing, better tuning of those knobs, and listening hard and again reacting and gaining control over the customer voice and finding that resonance. Inside sales is constantly telling us less chaff, more wheat. Same story, right? So that's the battle. How do we give them more qualified leads? It gets back to some of the messages I talked about. Don't give a lead to inside sales if someone's learning. That's a waste of time. Inside sales will feel like you wasted their time. The prospect will feel like they've been wasted, that their time was wasted. And marketing gets a black eye. What we really want to do is nurture that prospect until they're close to buying and then hand it to inside sales. And then you get the stopwatch effect on the right, where inside sales says, holy cow, you marketing guys rock. Every lead you're giving me, these people want a meeting. They want to talk about buying our products. They're aware of our products. That's the ideal world, folks. I wouldn't say we've got this nailed at Infoblox, but certainly without the automation tools and the CRM tools that we have, we couldn't get where we are today. Let's go to the next slide.
Good.
Now, Shri, you may want to say some words here too, right? Would you like to talk about this slide?
Yeah, I think this is basically a set of tools that that Infoblox is using. I think Steve, you use Eloqua quite heavily. That's correct, right? The Eloqua as a marketing automation platform. Yeah,
that's right. And we use Eloqua, and I think conceptually we can strip it away from Eloqua. There are other great products out there, but we use Eloqua for two things that are very key. First of all, it's where our prospect database is. Secondly, because we've tied it and integrated it with Salesforce.com, we can alert inside sales that an event has happened. For example, a white paper's been downloaded. Inside salesperson, this person has just engaged with the web. Here's their phone number. Here's their email. Call them now. That's actually all automated from our standpoint.
Excellent. And then the CRM platform is Salesforce.com.
Right.
And then for the data, demand-based ring leads, these bring in data that are cleaned more and more upstream. So from a data quality perspective, the accuracy, completeness, and uniqueness, these tools definitely are giving a lot of a bang for the buck. And then others, Lead Lander, Google Analytics. I think these are for lead sourcing, bringing the leads in.
That's correct.
So these platforms are what are enabling the processes that are built around the tactics you want to execute to meet the strategy that you have. That's how I think these are all tying together.
That's exactly right, Shri. And for example, just building on the example I already gave, let's say you type in that classic phone number 1234567 right? And Inside Sales has Shri@yahoo.com. They might have a company name Exafort, but they have the wrong phone number. So we use the demand-based tool, which is kind of like a cloud tool. It reaches out into a database and says, Shri's at Exafort, here's his real email, and here's his real phone. Again, every time an inside sales person is wasting a phone call or an email to a bad prospect or bad data, it's an OpEx pain point. It's a scaling issue, and we're very conscious on that. It's part of the way we think about lead scoring, actually.
Excellent. Great point. So I think we'll just take a look at, in summary, how is the framework, how is you as a marketing exec at Infoblox and your team and your company is basically following this simple framework and over again and seeing some great results. So just to summarize, from a market perspective, Steve, I think like you've discussed, and this is for the audience too. Steve has gone over how Infoblox looks at a market space, a segment they want to serve, and things like that. Message, very powerful. I mean, look at the common theme. No matter what campaigns are run, underlying theme of IPv6. I mean, think about the constant reiteration of that message, that theme, and that kind of builds the brand of Infoblox, both as a thought leadership as well as market leadership. Metrics, I think, Steve, you presented quite elaborately the metrics that make sense. I mean, a phenomenal difference in what the cost of some of these methods also go, right? Physical versus digital. I mean, I think it's $600 versus $2,000. This huge delta, and so I think it was very interesting. And thanks for sharing that insight too, as well as the platforms that you're using with Eloqua and demand-based ring leads and some others. So I think as we have seen, folks, this is how great companies get great results following the simple framework with enough discipline, and we have seen, in fact, at Exafort, this is one of the areas that we specialize in, of helping companies realize this framework and be able to implement this framework as part of their marketing automation strategy or overall demand generation combined with the customer relationship strategy. And Exafort can certainly help any of you who are interested with implementing and enabling this framework from a process perspective, technology perspective, or strategy perspective. All right. So with that, I want to turn it over to Janani and also see if you have any questions that popped on the wire. So Janani, over to you.
Sure. I see a couple of questions that has come through. Let's take a look at them, at least the first few. First one is, why did you choose Eloqua among others?
So Steve, this sounds like a question for you. So do you want to field this? Why?
Sure. It's a great question, and actually my answer may not be that helpful, but it's the truth, and that is once you gain experience on one of the two market-leading platforms, Marketo's another great platform, and Eloqua's a great platform, but my marketing operations team had experience with Eloqua, so it was a comfort decision. And I don't want to be seen as an Eloqua bigot. I think the right thing for you to do is look at the features and benefits that you need, price out the solution, and right-size the solution for your team. I think the longer these platforms have both been in business now, the more and more the difference is it fit for you versus is one really a brand leader or market leader. We're happy with Eloqua, but again, there's a lot of internal bias that we wanted to use Eloqua for comfort.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point, Steve. I mean, like you said, it's no one shoe fit all. In fact, that's one of the things we see is the variety of solutions, and each of them have their own strengths and pluses and minuses, and they're some are relevant in some areas and some processes that needs to be automated, where some other tool does some other things better. As well as we see the integratability across these different players in the ecosystems and all. So we do see those, I mean, that's a key decision point for a lot of enterprises, and we certainly get that quite a bit, and we help customers, enterprises determine, evaluate which product makes most sense for the need. Like you said, the capability, the cost and all, pricing those out, that is the method that we follow and make sure it's a good fit.
Right.
The tool should fit a process, not vice versa.
That's right, and I think you give that unique perspective as an integrator and a professional services team, whereas if you go to the sales team of each of those two products, you're going to get their position, but you guys can give a little bit more neutral and third-party view, which is great.
Absolutely. Thanks, Steve. I think Jenny is there.
Yeah, let's just go to the next one. What is the biggest disconnect between sales and marketing in your organization?
All right, Steve.
Well, how about if I just go on record saying, since I've been on deck, I've solved that problem, but it's actually, well, there's a little bit of joke there, but look, it's a core lead situation. What I think my three mantras with sales are communication, alignment, and metrics. And we have to actually agree on what is the communication model. When do I tell sales about a campaign? How do I team up with them on a campaign? Next one is alignment. If we're aligned, for example, let's say Inside Sales has a spiff this quarter on an educational vertical. Guess what? I probably should do something around education this quarter, even if I didn't plan to. And then the third one is metrics. We have to agree. What are the handoffs between us? What's the SLA between an inside salesperson getting an inquiry and following up on that inquiry? One of the things that we actually use the CRM tools to do is track all the inside salespeople and look at how many open leads are in their dashboards. And in particular, this is helpful for SEM, because if we find that Western Europe is behind, we pull back and put that money into a region where the inside salespeople are actually more aggressive, or due to vacations need more leads that week. So constant tuning. The other thing I can recommend is you need to be honest about quarterly updates and quarterly reviews. We actually do that. We sit as a team once a quarter, and we both talk about the quarter prior and look each other in the eye and say, I didn't achieve these goals. Here's what I did right. Here's what I did wrong. What am I going to do to fix that next quarter? What help do I need from you? So again, it really is a real-time, constant reinforcement of communication, alignment, and metrics.
Excellent. Great. Good point. I mean, it definitely takes two to tango. So I think this is the holy grail of the alignment, the coherence between sales and marketing efforts. Great.
Right. I'd actually say it takes three to tango, Shri, not to interrupt you there, just because finance also wants to know what's going on with all that money they gave us. So.
Fabulous point. Excellent point. All right, Steve. Let's see if we have any other questions that we want to take on this call. Any questions that we missed taking on this during this call, this webinar? We'll make sure we respond back by email or post it on our site. I think we're probably going by the time. We have one more question we might be able to take. Jenny, any particular that you?
Let's take this one. Typically, how long does it take to see the results of some of the campaigns you run?
Oh, that's a great question, and it gets back to something I was trying to articulate on the knob slide, which is different audiences in your organization want to see different things. So, for example, Inside Sales wants to see meetings come out of the wave of inquiries you did from your webcast this week immediately. All right? They're immediately hungry, immediately want results. And so there's a couple of things. Setting expectations and constant communication, I can't emphasize that enough. But for trade events, we find that those inquiries take longer to bake. Where we get the fastest resonance is our freeware downloads, where the customer really is trying software, and in the middle is a campaign where they're reading white papers or watching demonstrations. But when someone comes and downloads our software and wants to try it for 60 days, our inside sales team knows they better call those people right away and get in the middle of that evaluation process and offer professional services or system engineering resources to make sure that that installation is flawless and the customer really understands the benefit of the product. So 3 different ideas on where we get faster resonance or faster meetings and faster prospect engagement. There's no simple answer there. It's just the way it works at Infoblox, and that's why I spend so much money and time around search engine marketing and search engine optimization, because I know that if someone's looking for freeware and I can get their name and contact information, we know that inside sales will have a meeting with them very quickly, sometimes within weeks, more typically 60 days, but still that's seen as a very, very successful program in Infoblox.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Shri. We're running out of time. For those of you joining us in this webinar, thank you for your participation. We encourage you to visit our website, www.exafort.com, for this presentation and additional information. We also have other webinars coming up which you might find useful, so stay tuned. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter. If you have any questions regarding marketing, process optimization, customization, or automation, please drop us an email or give us a call. Our contact information is on the screen. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.